Today we're going to talk about bass strings, specifically the differences between round wound strings when it comes to nickel and steel. How do you choose? The pros and cons, what are the differences? Does it matter? We're going to find out. Here we go. For this comparison, I'm going to use brand new sets of strings. For the nickel, we have Stringjoy signatures, and then for the steel, we have Stringjoy Rangers. The specs on these are pretty much identical. 50 to 105, long scale, 34-inch medium gauge. So the difference is the material, and we're going to use the same bass. So I'm excited. Here we go. Okay, first impressions after a few moments of playing these brand new nickel wound strings. Really pleasant to play, bright but not brittle, warm but not tubby. They have a lot of information. They're really comfortable to play. They're really smooth, easy on the fingers. Honestly, just enjoyable to play. Okay, so I'm in the process of switching these strings over. So in this hand, I have the nickel. In this hand, I have the steel. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but they do look different in color. This looks a little more yellow to me, the nickel, and the steel looks a little more blue. The bigger difference is how it actually feels in my fingers. Like when I run my fingers along the nickel strings, it's very smooth. Aside from the obvious texture of the winding, just the material, it's very easy to slide my fingers along it. Whereas the steel, it just feels tackier. It feels like it's actually grabbing my fingers a little bit. You might like one or the other more, and I really do think the best thing for you to do is to try both and to listen to both and to experience playing both, because I think the bigger difference that we may discover today isn't as much of a sonic thing. We'll probably hear a difference, but I think what I'm going to experience more of is a difference in feeling, the actual experience of playing these different types of strings. Okay, so I've been playing these steel strings for a few minutes, and I have a few observations. First off, sonically, I do think they sound different. I think they sound more different than I anticipated. I think they sound almost like beefier. I'm curious to look at the EQ, but they sound like there's more low and more high, like almost like they're scooped. They also do feel very different. My fingertips, I feel like they're grabbing the strings and like almost, there's just more traction. It's not better or worse. It's almost like driving a different car. It just responds differently. You have to decide what you prefer. I feel like these strings, they want you to dig in. They want you to play loud. Like they want to bite. Like if you're a heavy-handed player or you play more aggressive music, steel might be a really good option for you. Whereas I feel like the nickels, they want me to play softer with a little more nuance. I feel like they sound a little better when you play a little softer. Okay, so this is really interesting. I just listened back to myself, and I am definitely perceiving a sonic difference between the two sets of strings. I feel like the steel, to me, it sounds punchier, whereas the nickel sounds a little smoother and more consistent to me in the response. At first, I was trying to just like play with the exact same performance as close as I could, but then I thought, man, these strings almost want me to play with more intensity, with more aggression. So I sort of let the strings influence me, because I think this is part of it, right? I think how the string inspires you is a big part of this decision for you. To me, that's a big part of what makes this conversation interesting. Different gear or different strings or whatever it is, they will bring out different things in you as a musician, as a player. Your self-expression will change with different devices. So how do you decide? I don't think there's a right or a wrong here. I think if you can, get your hands on both and try both, experiment with both. If you can, try and record yourself like I just did and listen back to yourself and ask yourself which version of yourself do you like more when you're playing steel or when you're playing nickel. If you're still having a hard time deciding, I think in general, steel is going to be brighter, punchier, more aggressive. It's going to lend itself well to more modern styles like slapping and tapping. Steel also, it's going to last a long time mechanically because it's steel, it's strong, right? But I should say, sonically, it will deteriorate faster. And by that I mean that really bright zinginess that you might like about steel, it doesn't last a long time. If you play the strings much, it's going to decay. And then you might find yourself having to replace those strings more if you're looking for that really bright, zingy sound. Whereas with nickel, I find that they're more stable and that tone will last longer. If you choose steel, you may find yourself changing your strings more frequently if you're looking for that really bright sound. And I've never had this issue personally, but some people have pointed out that steel could potentially wear down your frets because steel is such a hard material. It might be denser than the alloy that makes up the frets in your neck. So there is a chance that the steel could actually grind down your frets faster. In general, nickel is, I think it's safe to describe it as warmer, smoother. The actual texture of the string is smoother. If you like jazz or soul music or old school R&B or some styles like that, you might find these strings work really well for those sort of genres. It's easier on the fingers. It's a classic sort of smooth sound. And I would describe the feeling of playing those strings as a little bouncier, whereas steel just feels stiffer. I wish you could reach through the screen and play my bass right now so you could actually experience it for yourself. But I would say get your hands on both and try and decide which version of yourself you like better when you play steel or you play nickel, and then just go with that. Don't overthink it. I hope you found this video helpful. Also, my name is Philip Conrad. I love bass, and I'm so thankful to be a guest on the Stringjoy channel this week. If you have any bass-specific questions or topics that you want to discuss, put it in the comment section. I'm going to be reading all of it, and I'm going to be back soon talking about more bass stuff here on Stringjoy. So let me know in the comments, and a huge thank you to Stringjoy for having me. I'm really looking forward to more videos like this. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.